Hello and welcome to In the Spotlight with Quocirca, the definitive podcast on digital disruption in the print industry. I'm Luella Fernandez, Director of Quocirca, and today I'm joined by Steve Chad, Customer Engagement Manager at PFU. Today we'll be discussing scanning as an opportunity for digital transformation. We'll be hearing about how organisations can modernise their scanning infrastructure to gain the real benefits of digitisation and digital transformation, and also hearing more about the organisational intelligence concept, which is based on deriving the maximum value from information in a business. So there's lots to discuss, Steve. It's great to have you here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
So before we get into the conversation and discussing a bit more about our recent study around scanning as an enabler for digital transformation, could we maybe start with you telling us a bit about yourself, your role at PFU and your career history?
Yeah, I suppose it probably helped to go in chronological order. My first role after university was actually in a premium technology company, but the world's leading manufacturer of door chimes. And in that role, I was there for about 7.5 years, and I saw a lot of the insides of an organization from working in the factory, through logistics and customer service, right through to the marketing department. And, we had deployed a number of pretty large scale initiatives during my time there, from adopting a total quality management approach to all the manufacturing and everything that we did from a logistics point of view, through to deploying a whole SAP ERP system that really had big transformational effects on the whole organization. At the end of that 7.5 years, I moved down to London, and I've been here pretty much ever since. But in my main stint down here prior to PFU was 10 years with a US tech company who were in the main into electric cabling management systems and data center solutions as well. So during that 10 years, I got involved in an awful lot of projects and change projects, amongst which were I was central in helping to build their first solution apps for our channel partners and anybody designing and developing our solutions. I helped to establish a lot of the brand recognition for our data center solution, and also, I was key in terms of establishing the forerunner of what turns out to be now their global annual symposium. And now at PFU, I've been here almost 10 years. And in that time, I've helped to establish a lot of elements of our channel program back when I was working in the channel team, including our webinar series and key parts of our award-winning imaging rewards incentive program for our channel. But nowadays, I'm responsible for what we might call the PFU Content Factory in PFU EMEA. So as well as being the brand custodian here, I'm really responsible for creating the schedules and processes that help us to produce and communicate engaging, relevant content, which is both clear and consistent. Much of my time is devoted to developing the messaging platforms and the assets for things like events and product launches, but I'm also responsible for managing our portfolio of creative agencies, as well as overseeing our team's PR and social activities.
Yes, so really interesting career history. And because today's discussion is focused on scanning trends and opportunities, could you tell us a bit more about PFU as a company for those that aren't as familiar with it, and maybe tell us a bit more about its strategy and market positioning?
Yeah, so I suppose you'd say PFU it's a specialist company within the Ricoh family, and we're dedicated to information management solutions. We've got a long history of innovation, and through this, we offer advanced technology, intelligent software, and consultancy services. These offerings, they've made us the partner of choice for many of the world's most ambitious organizations. And if you look at PFU is our corporate entity and our corporate brand, but we're actually a house of brands, each of which is aligned towards the PFU corporate mission, which is all about enabling the world's flow of knowledge. All of our brands are aligned towards sort of helping our customers and our channel partners enable this to be achieved. Among our leading brands are the SP series scanners, which are essentially it's a range of dependable scanners for budget-conscious projects. But we also, in our stable, have the FI series. So these are all about enabling organizational productivity within organizations who have business workflows, etc., to scan and capture data into. Well, it's the world's leading scanner brand. The FI series, it's the best-selling both right now and also throughout history on a cumulative basis. But in addition to that, we also offer the world's second largest scanner brand, which is all about personal productivity, and that is ScanSnap. ScanSnap is all about providing individuals who are not necessarily part of organizational systems or workflows, but giving individuals the opportunity to increase personal productivity by providing them simply with a smarter way to work when managing and dealing with their paper in their business. But really, the core mantra behind ScanSnap is all about providing that personal productivity without the need to understand or know anything about IT. I think we have a maxim that is with ScanSnap, you don't need to know IT, you just need to know how to push a button. So that's what ScanSnap's about. And on top of that, of course, we also offer a range of services such as software solutions, which include co-creation services, where we can actually work with developers, whether they are ISVs or whether they are developers and end users, to help develop and help them either build or support them in their building of integrations that help our capture and scanning solutions integrate into other business systems and workflows, providing them with all the tools, the assets and the knowledge to help make that happen along the way. So,
yeah, so a really broad portfolio from what it sounds like is, personal productivity right up to organizational productivity, which is supported by software and solutions. And we'll come back to that in the conversation. But you mentioned there about being part of the Ricoh family, and I know that acquisition went through this year. Can you tell us a bit more about how the acquisition by Ricoh will influence PFU's market strategy going forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Ricoh acquisition, it won't change our core mission or our go-to-market strategy. As always, we will continue to be at the forefront of information management and technology, leading that through innovation. And we continue to maintain our commitment to supplying and enabling our channel partners through both the products and solutions that we offer, but also through our channel and ISV communities and the programs that we provide, as well as through our existing online anchor points and engagement through our in-field teams. So nothing's going to change from that point of view. It will be business as usual, but I think it will certainly add value to the solutions that we can offer. But there's a great opportunity, not just in terms of fit, but also business opportunity. Our mission is, of course, enabling the world's flow of knowledge. If we look at Ricoh, their vision is all about enabling information to be copied precisely and distributed at the touch of a button. I think I've heard that somewhere else. So that was a pretty good sign, but also being able to realize that vision through a combination of technology, engineering, and quality manufacturing. So again, if you look at the way that we go about that, the two organizations shared that goal of realizing this by helping end users to translate systems and processes into business value, into competitive advantage, simply by enabling better knowledge sharing and harnessing the power of collective imagination, or that's the way that Ricoh described it. And I think the way that we describe that is through increasing an organization's organizational intelligence.
Yes, so given the synergies and convergence that we're seeing in the print and digital world, it definitely seems a great strategic fit. So picking up on the organizational intelligence concept, can you give us a bit more detail about what you mean by that and how it helps your customers?
Yeah, I think organizational intelligence is it's an approach born out of research that we conducted back in early 2020. And so this is research, again, into how people and how organizations specifically are dealing with digital transformation, how they're approaching it, how they were, some of the challenges that they were facing and how they were actually overcoming those challenges and obstacles. And I think as well as gaining valuable insights into how they were managing this sort of new field, one of the things we noticed was there was a bigger pattern there. And that was that the key to making improvements and actually getting the most out of them was understanding within any organization how information is utilized and how it flows through the organization. So from this, we coined the phrase organizational intelligence to try and describe how organizations can eventually gain maximum value from the information that they have access to. It's a relative term that helps drive progress from wherever you are as an organization. But by viewing, it gives a kind of framework by which people can view their organization as an interconnected system of data pathways, if you will. And by seeing how information flows and how these data pathways may or may not be connected and work, it becomes more easily clear where improvements can be made and helps to enable, by improving in the right areas, you can enable and improve the way that information is made more accessible to the right people and the right systems at the right time. This provided us with a great way to marry how business transformation and strategic value actually is very dependent in many ways upon the actual flow of information that gets fed into the systems that support it. So it really highlighted how information capture and scanning, that is very much at the beginning of that process, is actually a critical part of the whole thing working. It's not the only part, but it really is important. And it revolves very much around that principle of garbage in, garbage out. If you're not putting good quality information and data into a system, then no matter how good the actual infrastructure is, you can't expect the results to be of as high quality as you'd like. So it gave us a lot of insights into not just how to describe digital transformation in a simpler way, but also how, as we said, scanning and capture is a great place to start. And also, looking at it from a strategic and operational point of view, it did give us some really, really good stories that our channel were able to utilize to actually help start the conversations around what to look for in capture solutions.
So if we move on to the recent Quocirca study that we worked with PFU for, in terms of looking at scanning trends and opportunities, we interviewed 508 organisations across the UK, France, Germany, Italy and Spain, in sectors including finance, banking, healthcare and public sector and government. And the aim was really to understand the post-pandemic landscape around digitisation and scanning. So can you tell us a bit more about the objective of that study and some of the key findings that we uncovered as a result of the research?
I think one of the big things that we saw instantly was that, and it was nice to be able to compare it with the research we'd done pre-pandemic and then see here how organizations were viewing information capture and digital transformation post-pandemic. Were there any big shifts? And I think one of the big shifts that we noticed was in the reasons for people pursuing digital transformation, the drivers. Before the pandemic, the responses that we got were largely focused on improving profit and efficiency, which is fair enough. But there was a huge shift and a very big shift. I think 52% of organizations in the Quocirca report post-pandemic said that their main goal was actually achieving a degree of business agility. Now, to this, to us, this suggests that yes, profit is important to keep you alive, but actually just staying alive, surviving, making sure, as Charles Darwin said, the species that survive aren't necessarily the strongest at any given time. They're the ones that can adapt the best to changing conditions. One other sort of higher level result that we found was that more organizations are seemingly wanting to integrate capture solutions and scanning solutions into other business processes and workflows, which tells us that they may be searching for ways to actually get more out of their investments, which is quite exciting from our point of view, because it suggests people are actually considering value more than just price. many of the other results and the data points within the report were actually pointing in the same direction in terms of not just what people were saying that they wanted from their capture solutions, but also what they were doing about it. I think there was a big, most of the respondents, in fact, I think 70, in the high 70s, about 77%. Of organizations said that they were looking to actually, or that they already do, try to scan the data that they capture into existing business flows, and also in terms of their future plans for investment in capture solutions. I think 62% of organizations are looking to replace existing capture solutions and update them, and a further 13% are looking to add more scanners to their fleet. So that's encouraging. And I think it was 68% of respondents said that they actually had budget in place. So again, this is not just what people are sort of saying in terms of opinion. People are reporting that they're actually taking action in this direction as well. So that it's great for the industry. It's a great opportunity in terms of seeing what end user organizations wanting and needing to do. Top of the list of desirable features in scanning solutions was, as is often the case, speed and quality. And that was interesting, but the interesting counterpoint to that was the issues that the respondents were most disappointed with frequently was the speed that they were getting and the quality that they were getting out of the solutions that they had. So again, this again raises the question of, is everybody getting the results that they're expecting from the solution? If organizations are looking to integrate systems more closely, then basic systems theory says that every part of that integration becomes more important to the whole working and performing as you'd expect it to. So, one squeaky cog or one small part of it might seem relatively small, but it can stop the whole of the rest of it from actually delivering value. So yeah, there's a lot of insights that were gained there, and we found there was a big emphasis on the importance of quality in those findings.
Yeah, no, I think it is a really very interesting study to work on for Quocirca, because we obviously look very closely at what's happening in the print industry, and a lot of the findings really matched what we were seeing there in terms of the move to less paper rather than paperless office. Yeah. And one of the reasons for that, I think the research highlighted was that there's this kind of enduring need for paper because of the legal requirements or customer or employee preference. And, but at the same time, this paper dependency can really lead to higher costs. And that's both from a financial and environmental perspective. And it also, creates inefficiencies for business processes. And I think it really goes back to that kind of concept of organizational intelligence, is how you optimizing the use of paper in your organization, and how can you extract insights and data from that information and, push that through your business processes. And it was very valuable insights in terms of understanding that, again, that convergence of paper and digital and the opportunities for organizations. So I guess many of them may be using legacy technology for that. And this, because of the speed of digital transformation over the last few years, that this is an opportunity for organizations to invest in modernizing their scan and document capture environments.
I certainly think that, all of those indicators that people are continuing to invest are certainly strong signs that say paper isn't disappearing. It's, if you're a brand new organization, you may start out with that goal of being completely digital. Not many organizations can go down that path if we're already there. But I think what many organizations are realizing is, the paperless office, as we sometimes sort of written about in the past, the pure paperless office may be a bit of a broken dream, because we've been trying to head towards it for the last 30, 40 plus years, and we're still not there. And I think it's maybe because an absolute is very difficult to achieve. Perfection and absolute zero is difficult to achieve, especially with something like paper, which has been absolutely intrinsic to the whole way that we've operated as humans for the last several hundred years. And when it becomes so embedded in the natural way that you do things, it's extremely difficult to change it because it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and it's in so many processes. And as a result, there's a big comfort factor associated with using it in that way. And while you may be able to manage things within your own organization about using less paper, which is exactly the way to go, you can control your organization, but you can't control everybody else in the world. So there's still probably going to be lots of paper coming at you from the outside world, and you have to deal with that, even if you've been able to eliminate paper from your processes. So yeah, I think all of these needs for digitization are, even if it's just as simple as dealing with paper from the outside world, there's still a lot of it around, and change just doesn't happen, amongst masses of people. It just doesn't happen instantly like that, and we can't expect it to. So yeah, as with organizational intelligence, it's very much about a journey and about progress rather than perfection. And I think if we understand that, we recognize there's still great opportunity to help organizations to deal with paper, even if the end goal somewhere in the future means that most of that paper's disappeared from our processes. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen in the short to medium term.
Yeah, and I think it's all about balance. Like you say, it's, we talk a lot about work-life balance, but maybe there's, that approach to having, paper digital balance. Sometimes you have good paper and bad paper, and, it's about eliminating the inefficiencies. But like you say, there will always be a role for paper in certain business processes, how that's optimized. So, and I think this creates opportunities for PFU's channel and customers. So can you talk a bit about how this shift to digitization and the opportunities around scanning are sort of creating opportunities for the channel?
There's great opportunities for our reseller partners to go out and actually begin talking about having value-based conversations rather than, I would say, technology conversations at the beginning. I think the fact that, organizations are recognizing the value of integration and the emphasis on quality means that when you do this, the range of considerations that you need to understand actually grows and grows and grows, because there's a lot more moving parts and they all interact in many different ways. And again, most end users, they want to focus on doing what they do as their core mission. They don't necessarily want to have to focus on learning whole new fields and becoming experts in those in terms of being able to make progress. So that provides the open opportunity for our channel partners and us to come in and actually provide that expertise, provide value in terms of deploying solutions which they're not just deployed to achieve operational improvements and efficiency, although they can, but it's actually having those conversations about what the initial business drivers are for considering going down a certain path, for instance, digital transformation, or looking at particular process areas. If you do that at the beginning, if you ask the right questions about what you genuinely need and understanding, explore your own context in terms of what's possible now or into the future, then you can build a better system right at the beginning. And that's really the experience from having done it time and time again. I mean, this is what our channel partners do, having the experience and the expertise to know what questions to ask and how to explore correctly. It helps end users avoid the pitfalls of specifying the wrong solution. And as we've seen, one of the other factors that further embeds the impact of the incorrect choice is in the report. One of the sort of most important things in a scanning solution that came out was longevity of that solution. End users want to put a system in that's actually going to continue to give them a good return on investment for a considerable time into the future without having to reinvest another significant chunk of money. But if they're putting a system in that they expect to be there for a long time, any challenges or problems or issues that they have with putting the wrong system in are going to be with them for a long time. So it's going to, either compound the exponential gains to be had from putting the right system in are going to grow. And from integrating systems more fully, you can get a lot more value out of it long term in a lot more places. But conversely, if you put the wrong system in, it's probably going to have a compounded effect on the hidden cost of quality that causes, not just to this operation, but in terms of many other places that system impacts, because they're dependent on it. So there's huge opportunity for our channel to actually start having those value-based conversations. And I think the OI report itself and organizational intelligence, when we brought that out, it actually allows, by allowing our channel partners to actually connect strategic vision level business value conversations to eventually what technology you're going to need for that. It helps them to be involved much earlier in the sales cycle. As we know, if you're at the end of the sales cycle and the conversation is purely about price, or even what tech have you got, I'm not saying you're too late to the party, but you're going to be fighting on price, and the conversation's just about, we know what's needed. Do you have anything that fits? Rather than asking the question at the beginning, what's needed and how should it fit and what are the limitations, and actually establishing the value it can deliver. If you're able to join the conversation early on, you can not just deliver a whole lot more value, you can be a lot more sure that it works and it will deliver. But post-sale, and this is about not just, taking people through the consultancy and sales stage. After that, if it continues to deliver value, your customer regards you as a trusted advisor. They're going to ask you back, and actually, when they're thinking about the next phase, they're going to ask your advice early on because they recognize the value that it brings. So all of this shift from technology and price towards actually exploration of the context early on is hugely important for our channel in terms of being able to add more value.
Yeah, so it's very much more about values-based, business outcomes-based sales approaches. And we're seeing that also in the managed print services sector. And, just briefly, would you be able to maybe give some insight into what you see are perhaps adjacencies or opportunities for traditional print resellers or MPS resellers to move into scanning? Because, obviously MFPs have scanning capabilities, but they wouldn't have it at the level of, obviously, of the dedicated scanner. And I think, there are opportunities for MPS providers to build practices around scanning as well.
Yeah, I think we've always seen them because, we've worked with MPS providers before Ricoh bought PFU. So it's quite easy for some people to look at it and think of them as competing solutions, but actually they're very complementary in terms of what they each offer. But the key to this is about sometimes seeing that bigger picture of, it's not about one or the other, because they're different types of technology, different types of solution that deliver different outputs and results. So it's important to know really what each one actually delivers and the strength of it. So if we look at, in the print industry, I think there's really focus on the fact that, MFDs and sort of multifunction devices, multifunction printers, their primary focus is to print. And while they can perform a multitude of other tasks, and that's really handy for ad hoc work, I think if you're looking at getting into leveraging the maximum return you get from information capture, then you're probably wanting to look at a specialized solution because it's simply the fact that it's been developed in such a way to focus on maximizing what you can get out of that type of activity. And I think recognizing the strengths here allowed managed print services providers to actually look and say, hey, they're not far away from each other. They're all to do with figuring out how information can be shared and moved throughout organizations in an effective way. And one of them works very much in the physical environment, and the other one's actually about taking it from the physical and into the digital. So they plug into each other naturally. And if you can build a wider solution around that, you've got a much bigger offering. You've got a wider, more comprehensive solution to take out to your end users. And instead of maybe talking purely about scanning or purely about printing, you're actually able to talk about information management. And then it really does become a much more strategic level business value and business outcome driven conversation. And also you've got the different components that allow you to say, and we can actually make any of this work for you. So I think that's a great opportunity for MPS resellers to consider in terms of there's margin opportunity to add to your portfolio, but there's also opportunity to elevate your discussions to that early business value driven one rather than again, going in and competing on specific technology points, which often ends up being on price.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're, definitely very complementary technologies. And I think even for the MPS channel, they're looking to drive more value out of their engagement. So I think, there's some really great synergies between the two areas. So just to, it's been really great insight, and it's a great topic to discuss because of the acceleration we're seeing around digital transformation. And for anybody who wants a copy of the report, it's freely available on the Quocirca website as well as the PFU website. So I strongly encourage anyone to access that. And just to finish off, really, I just wanted to get a view on what's next for PFU and perhaps a prediction for what you expect to see in the scanning market in 2023.
Wow, future predictions. I mean, guaranteed to be wrong, because otherwise I'd be probably earning a lot more money than I do. But in terms of what the future for PFU, I can tell you that we'll continue to innovate in the marketplace, and of course, move our industry forwards, not just in terms of the products that we bring to market, but also with services and the wider solutions that those products support. We'll continue to invest in our programs, our partner community, and our ecosystem of not just reseller partners, but also ISV partners who also bring you an exciting, very specialized, often integrated solutions to the marketplace. We're currently expanding our team at PFU right across EMEA. Our product launches continue to break new ground in terms of the numbers of languages we deliver them in. And we continue to sort of produce webinars that go from strength to strength in terms of the numbers of resellers and partners that are actually joining those and attending them. So there's great opportunities for us to actually connect parts of our community. We've got some great innovations in terms of new products coming down the pipeline. And from an external point of view, I suppose market-wise, we expect to see organizations looking more and more towards more integrated solutions. Again, following that lead, trying to get as much return on investment from the investments that they make, and not just return on investment, trying to get the insights that allow them to make business driving decisions that give them sustainable competitive advantage that's very difficult for other organizations to follow.
Yeah, and it's been a really fascinating conversation to understand, the impact of that broader information management. And I think, as you said at the beginning, scanning has been shown to be a real sort of critical enabler of digital transformation. And it's great to hear how PFU are really strongly positioned to help their customers drive efficiencies and drive more business value from their digital transformation initiatives. So, really thank you for joining me today. It's been some really great insight, and we'll provide the links to the reports on the show notes for the YouTube and the Spotify channel. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
So thanks again for joining today's episode of In the Spotlight with Quocirca. For more information, please go to quocirca.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.